Welcome, friends, Rotarians, and guests to today's meeting of the Rotary Club of Tulsa. I hope everyone's ready for Halloween. I know my schedule with the kids is full, at least for the foreseeable future, and I guess we'll just have to deal with the sugar highs. I steal most of it anyway, so they'll have to deal with that. We'll begin today's program with Rotary Y and Pledge from President-elect nominee Karen McCannell, guest introductions from Dylan Hardin, and new member introductions from Chase Matthews.
Y'all are welcome to sit down. Just take a break. I have about 16 minutes here of this. So, my Rotary journey with this club officially started November of 2017, but this was not my first introduction to Rotary. Family vacation. I'm the youngest of 10. We went camping for most of our family vacations, as one would expect in the 60s, 70s. Anyway, family vacations. On the first Monday after we got into our campground, businesses were open. My dad and I would get in the car and drive to whatever town was closest. We would find the president of the bank and meet him. We would find the pharmacist and meet him. And then my dad had to find out where was the Rotary Club and when did they meet, because he was never going to miss a meeting. In junior high and high school, my dad would once a year be the first person to jump out of bed in the house, rush out the door before daylight. He would head down to the town square, Chandler Park in downtown Macomb, Illinois, for the annual Rotary Club barbecue chicken fundraiser. My dad prepped food. He got the girls ready. He stood over a grill for hours and hours, barbecuing chicken on what always seemed like the hottest day of the year. My dad never stepped in our kitchen unless he was passing through. We never had a barbecue grill, but my dad was the Rotary barbecue king. My dad, who was never the first one up in our house, once a year felt if he didn't do it, who would? So he always left the home early. In high school, my dad surprised me, and he was the song leader for his Rotary Club. He was always looking for relevant songs that would meet and match the programs that were going to be talked about that week. He would tie it in. My dad, who I never heard singing in his entire life, spent hours finding the right song for his Rotary Club meetings. Barney tried for many, many years to get me to join this club, but with my work travel, it just didn't make sense. I knew there was an attendance requirement, and I just couldn't do it. One day, Barney calls me and said, they've dropped the requirement for attendance. I joined, and I was hooked. Walking into my early meetings, I ran into my old friends from Leadership Tulsa, Class 28, Dana Burks, Jan Lobb, and my good friend, Carl Vincent. Carl and I were in small groups together, so we've got dirt on each other. Mike Homan, who I knew professionally and was a peer, I worked with him. Hannibal Johnson, who presented to my Leadership Tulsa class, I'm honored to now call my friend. Working on projects like Camp Enterprise has given me a tribe of wonderful friends who work hard, laugh hard, and all give their time and talent to help enrich the lives of high school juniors for one weekend a year. Looking around this room at this amazing group of people, my friends, my peers, my fellow Rotarians, who energize me each week when I come into this meeting, you are my Rotary Y. Will you please stand if you're able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dylan Hardin. I am introducing guests and their host Rotarians today. When I say your name, will you please stand and remain standing until all names have been called and hold your applause until the end. Our first guest is Denise Dillon with Jerry Dillon. Our second guest is Bethany Wilson with Kathy and Ben Gorell. Diana Smith with DJ Morrow Ingram. And then Jordan Sanchez, also with DJ. We have Taylor Gio, and this is her first meeting. She's with DoubleTree Downtown. And we have Charlotte Buchanan, who is also with DoubleTree. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chase Matthews. I have the honor of introducing our new member, Ben Jones. Ben is a proud native of Green Country, born and raised in Claremore, Oklahoma. After graduating with honors from the prestigious Oklahoma State University, go Pokes, Ben spent the first 2 years of his career in Kansas City, where he joined the Commerce Bank Ascend training program. During this time, he gained extensive experience in credit underwriting, business development, and business strategy. Recently, Ben relocated to Tulsa to join the Commerce Bank Tulsa Metro Commercial Banking Team. A fun fact about Ben is he is a member of the Cherokee Nation and the Society of Mayflower Descendants. While one side of his family were among the first European settlers in America, the other side was there to greet him. So, please welcome Ben Jones.
Welcome, Ben. We're happy to have you. And of course, it's always nice to see new members introducing other new members. So thank you, Chase, as well. As they announced, we had 2 guests from the DoubleTree Hotel, and apparently it's not very often that a guest brings us gifts. So we got some DoubleTree cookies here. So if anyone wants to find me afterwards, you can have what's left. So thank you, Taylor and Charlotte. Very important announcement here. If anybody lost a piece of jewelry at the Golden Circle Gala, Sheree has it. So if that's you, come find her afterwards and she will get it back to you. Tomorrow is a very special day for Rotary International. It's World Polio Day. Polio anywhere, or the way the international statement goes, polio anywhere is a threat everywhere, and Rotary members have long worked to end this paralyzing virus, which will be only the second human disease ever to be eradicated. Rotary has contributed more than $2.7 billion to fight polio and countless volunteer hours since first launching this initiative, the Polio Plus program, in 1985. In 1988, Rotary joined partnership with the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to form the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. The Gates Foundation and Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, later joined, and when the initiative launched, there were 350,000 cases of polio every year. Today, the incidence of polio have plummeted by more than 99.9%. To sustain this progress and to continue to reach every child with the polio vaccine, Rotary has committed to raising an additional $50 million each year to support polio eradication across the globe. The Gates Foundation has pledged to match that 2-for-1 for a total yearly contribution of $150 million. World Polio Day is tomorrow. One day, one focus, ending polio for good. World Polio Day is a day for Rotary members, public health advocates, and all who want a world free from polio to come together, recognize our progress and the progress that has been made to fight and to end polio for good, and to talk about the actions we need to take in order to reach the end goal. Together, we can end polio. So now, please turn your attention for a short video.
Right now, at this very moment, there's a movement happening. See, Rotary sparked an idea that was once unthinkable, ridding the world of a horrible disease, polio. A global community of scientists, advocates, governments, and health workers, people all doing their part to beat the unbeatable, track the untraceable, reach the unreachable. And it's all happening right now, people. This part of history belongs to everybody, so tell everybody, near, far, young, and old, that it will take everybody. Because legacies aren't forged overnight. Making history isn't instant. In the decades since Rotary and its partners started this journey, billions of children have been protected from polio. But we still have work to do. And this part's on us. All of us. Part-time, full-time, full stop. Right now, no breaks, no indifference. You and me. Because polio isn't unstoppable. We are. Together, we end polio.
To learn more, you can visit Rotary International's page, endpolio.org, to understand where we are and where we need to be to fully eradicate this disease. I'm always struck when I pass our monument on the Williams Green. It's a beautiful message about our club's contribution over the many, many years towards this initiative, and we're very close to accomplishing that goal. Now, a Service Above Self side mic announcement from Ben Gurrell.
Thank you, Daniel. Coming up next week, we will not meet here. We will be meeting at Catholic Charities of Eastern Oklahoma. It's the 5th Wednesday Service Above Self time. We need you all to sign up. We can have 15 people. We've only got 2 now signed up, so please sign up if you can. Go online and sign up to help us at Catholic Charities. They do an amazing job of serving people of northern Tulsa. So thank you all very much. If you have any questions, please give me a call or talk to Shannon Bowman. Yes, sir.
Ben, last time I was able to bring 2 people from my office. They don't need to be Rotary members to help, right?
Correct, but we need you to make sure that you sign them in so that we don't overblow the 15 limit and stuff. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ben. And now it's time for The Price is Rotary with Sarge Barker.
Good afternoon. Hey, what a beautiful audience. Thank you so much for playing The Price is Rotary. I am your host, Sarge Barker, and I just want to give a hand to this beautiful audience that helped us raise so much money. Please give them a hand right now. Now, someone is going to be our lucky contestant today, so I was hoping that our guest speaker could draw who that person might be. Jenny Hammock, are you up for coming up? Come on down. All right, Jenny, so we're going to play a game called the Bullseye Game. And how this is going to work, if you don't mind holding this up for our studio audience, how it's going to work is I have 5 items here on the table. And what you're going to do is you're going to give me a guess about how many items you need to buy to get to this bullseye mark, which is between $10 and $12. Does that make sense to you? So if I had maybe like Laffy Taffy, how much Laffy Taffy would I need to buy to get to $10 to $12? All right, pretty simple. So just to let our studio audience know what we're going to be playing here, we have a $30 gift card on the table from Mehdi Kesri. So let's give him a hand. Thank you so much, Mehdi, for donating that. And Jenny, if I remember correctly, too, you were a contestant before on The Price is Rotary, were you not?
I did not win the car.
You did not win. You came close to getting a gift card, but you did not win the car. So close, though, so close. But I have a feeling, though, you're going to do really well. Because you know what? The last 3 Rotary games that we have played, no one has won. Okay? So we are due for a win. We need a win. We need to hear a ding, ding, ding sound, right? A ding. We need to hear that sound. So we're going to have you play, but we're also going to see who wants to add to the prize, because right now I have $10 that I want to put in. Is there anyone else here in the audience that would like to add to the prize? Yes? $20 more. All right, thank you, Phil. Who else? $20. All right, okay, we've got 50 now. 70? All right, excellent. No, 90? Wow, all right, $200.
Up to 110.
Would you like to play the Price is Rotary game? All right, so we got to $110 now for the prize. Okay, so Jenny, you can't blow this, all right? No pressure, all right? So just to let our studio audience know what's on the table here, because you probably can't see, we have 5 items. Now, this is a Halloween edition, so what we have here is classic candy corn. We've got a temporary hair color brush for the kids, a Glade pumpkin scent air freshener, a 6-inch light stick and lanyard pack for the kids to go trick-or-treating, and just in case the parents and grandparents get tired, we also have a can of Red Bull. So what I want you to tell me is you get 3 chances. You get to pick any items on the table, and I want you to tell me which item and how many you would buy to get to $10 to $12.
One item and then how many?
That's correct. So which item do you want to pick first? Now, by the way, studio audience, you can help her, okay? So if you think that you have the answer, you can shout it out as well, all right? So Jenny, which would you like to pick first?
Let's. The Red Bull, 5.
5 Red Bull? Okay. All right, number 5 is the Red Bull. Now, Jenny, how much of the Red Bull would you need to buy to get to $10 to $12?
4.
4? All right. The price of the Red Bull is $2.79. What is that?
It's 11.
$13.95. Oh, I'm sorry, Jenny. That is not correct. That actually went over the mark. Okay, which number would you like to pick now?
She's right. It's 11.
Which one, Jenny?
Math is hard. Let's go back.
What? She said 4. Whoa! We got a winner! I knew you could do it.
Thank you.
And I'm firing my co-host. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for playing. And Jenny, I have a $30 gift card for you to go from Medi Kesri. So thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
With math skills like that, I'm surprised you're not a lawyer. Thank you, Derek, and congratulations, Jenny. Today's Rotarian of the Day is DJ Morrow Ingram. She's been a member of the Rotary Club of Tulsa since 1995 and a member of the Rotary Club since 1989. She has served as Sergeant at Arms and as club director numerous times. She was a longtime editor and writer for the Rotary publication The Gasser, and she currently serves as club services director and manages our club's social media presence. DJ's been a resident of Tulsa for 30 years, but still calls Kansas home and is a loud, proud Rock Chalk Jayhawk. Your Rotarian of the Day.
If you're getting tired of seeing me up here, start volunteering. Several years ago, my good friend Diane Smith went to work for Lilyfield, and I didn't know anything about it, but I have since had time to learn, and so I'm really pleased and proud to introduce our guest speaker today. There is an extensive bio on our social media, so I encourage you to read through that, but I will give you a few highlights here. Holly Towers is the executive director of Lilyfield, which provides foster care for children and youth in state custody, counseling for children and families impacted by foster care, adoption, or trauma, and comprehensive social services to vulnerable families at risk for involvement with the child welfare system. And since 2021, Lilyfield's, and I don't have more current numbers, sorry, Lilyfield served over 2,100 children or clients through that program. Holly's been with Lilyfield since 2008 and is a licensed clinical social worker. She has a passion for mobilizing the community to care for the vulnerable among us and manages the day-to-day operations of Lilyfield and works with strategic partnerships within the community to empower faith families to engage in the issues of adoption, foster care, and family strengthening programs. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in Family Studies and Child Development from Oklahoma Christian University and a Master of Social Work from the University of Oklahoma. She also has experience as a mental health therapist working in the areas of child trauma, substance abuse, recovery, post-traumatic stress disorder, and child abuse and neglect. And as again, there's a lot more to her bio, and I encourage you to go and look at our social media and read about that. But please welcome Holly Towers.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me today. I always love to get to talk about Lilyfield. I've been with Lilyfield, as you heard, for a long time. I am from Oklahoma. Oklahoma City is my home, and since 1998, I have worked with vulnerable children and families in our state. And when I was a young person growing up in Edmond, I really began to realize the privilege that I had had in my life, having a stable home, having a stable family, and wondered, how do I give back? And what I decided when I was very young is I would give back by giving my life to trying to advance that for other children. Stable family is the bedrock of our whole society, really of humanity. When we give children the right start to life, that is when we can have successful communities that thrive and are beautiful. So that's really the reason that I come to what I do. I am, as you heard, I'm a social worker. So, I love to think about systems and how systems work together to better our communities. And so you're going to hear a lot about that in what I talk about today with Lilyfield. So I have slides, and I'm gonna go through some of the slides. I get off track a lot because I love talking about Lilyfield. So we'll go wherever we go today, but you'll leave, I hope, with some inspiration for thinking about what we can do for vulnerable children and families in our state. So our mission statement is to provide healthy families for at-risk children and youth. We do that in some strategic areas. So you heard foster care. We're very involved in foster care. We really began as an organization in 1990, providing first adoption and then foster care services throughout the state of Oklahoma. And, as times change, we learn more about how to better help people. And I think we would all agree when you learn better, you do better. And so the old way to serve children and families, or the traditional way, was to think when a parent couldn't provide for their child, we take them out of that home and put them into another home. But we now know that that is a unique trauma for children, to lose their family of origin. And so when we can provide supports to families, that's a really good way to mitigate some future risk. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of information about that when we talk about foster care and why that's so important. But when we talk about healthy families, sometimes that means foster families, sometimes that means adoptive families, sometimes that means the biological family, sometimes that's a grandparent raising their grandchildren. Our goal is not to decide what that family looks like, but rather to say children need healthy families. And as a community, that is something we can all agree on. I think everybody in this room would agree that children need healthy families. And so that's our mission, that's our goal, and that's what we're all about. So we have core values: compassion, creativity, and unity. I like to just bring this up because we're an organization that works together with one another, works together with our community, and we're really committed to being a partner at the table with other organizations, other nonprofits, and other community groups. That's a key piece for us, and so we try to live that out on a day-to-day basis. So as I mentioned, we began as actually a branch of a Colorado nonprofit in 1990, and in 2000, a group of Oklahomans decided, you know what, this is a really good work that we're doing, but a lot of our efforts are going to serve children and families in Colorado. We want to make sure that we focus real strategically into Oklahoma. So in 2000, we incorporated as an Oklahoma nonprofit, and since that time, we have functioned autonomously as a nonprofit governed by a board of directors. We have tried to be, and I think many of you, I know, as business people and as members of this club, you know, we do have to respond to the changing needs in our society, and we have to be able to be flexible and adaptable and to understand that really we may have really great ideas, and those may have worked really well, but over the years we have to adapt those great ideas to meet the current needs that we see. So that's a really big piece for us. So we've continued to adapt and expand those innovative ways. So I want to talk about this for a minute because this is a real key for us. So in the mid 2010s, around 2013, 2014, so I'm a social worker. I've always worked for private agencies, never the state, but child welfare, you know, children and families in and around the child welfare system are really the place that I love to be. So families who face really, really significant risk. We're talking about really big hardships. We had historically, as I mentioned, responded to those needs through providing foster homes. And in the mid-2010s, as our understanding of mental health, trauma, brain development has advanced as a society, we begin to understand that certain things were uniquely traumatic for children, and those unique traumas could change the trajectory of a child's life. So one thing that came out as we start looking at things like how many people in our prison system have been in foster care. Like what percentage of the prison population has experienced foster care? It's really high. Anywhere between 85 and 95% of the prison population has experienced foster care. What happens to kids when they age out of foster care, when they aren't adopted and they aren't reunified, when the foster care system doesn't do what it intended to do, and that is provide a child with a safe and stable home, but rather they end up kind of languishing in and out of institutions or group homes or shuffling between foster homes. So we're talking about this group of kids that never attains any kind of stability. In Oklahoma, that's about 300 youth every year age out with no stability. So over time, this is a big population. These kids experience high levels of unemployment, they experience high levels of homelessness, they experience high levels of early pregnancy, and they experience high levels of being reintroduced to the foster care system as a parent. The other piece we begin to understand, and this was the really startling piece for me as a social worker who said I want to be a part of a solution, the research and the data showed us that children who enter foster care, now you're going to have to really put this on for size and wrestle with it. I know I've had to for the last 8 years. Children who enter foster care have worse outcomes than their peers who stay in similarly dysfunctional families than they were removed from. So that's a stat we have to wrestle with, right? That tells us, whoa, something we're doing is not working. So I'm grateful, as I know many of you are, having been, traveled internationally, served children internationally, seen what it's like to live in a country that isn't able to provide for children that have need, that end up living on the streets. I'm grateful that we have a country that prioritizes the needs of children and that we have a system that responds to them. I am really, really thankful for that. But I think we have to really own as a society that the solutions that we've come up with don't always, or statistically speaking, usually create better outcomes for kids. And what is that about? So a lot of people that are way smarter than I am, Casey Family Programs, Annie E. Casey, these folks that are experts in this world have done a lot of research, and we have a lot of understanding about why that is. And what these experts advocate is a different way to approach vulnerable children and families. So if we know that foster care isn't producing the outcomes, it may take a child from a home that's at risk and put them in a home that is safe, but that is not improving the long-term trajectory of most children. Some it will. We all know the beautiful stories that we hear of success, and those are real, but we're talking about kind of statistically speaking. So we begin to really wrestle with that as an organization and say, okay, oh my goodness, if we're part of a system that we already know, statistically speaking, the majority of children won't have a better outcome in our system than they would have if we would have left them alone. What do we do with that? And so we as an organization said then we got to go way, way, way upstream. And we got to figure out where these kids are a long time before we know them through the child welfare system, and we've got to intervene then. So I'm going to give you this picture. I don't have a picture of it here, but I'm going to give it for you in your mind. The folks at the national leaders in understanding child welfare, Casey Family Programs, they talk about the child welfare system as a house. And so once a family has engaged with the child welfare system and the children have entered foster care, it's like they've opened the front door and they've walked into the house. So traditionally speaking, when we talked about prevention, we talked about families that were on the front porch. These are families that were already known to the system. Something had already gone so wrong that the system knew about them, and they knew that there was a problem. By the time families are on the front porch, it's real hard to keep them out of the house. It's really the measures you have to take to keep them out of that house are very expensive, they're very complicated, and they don't happen very quickly. So that's good work, right? We need to be on the porch with people. But we said, let's go to the front yard. What if we find them before the system ever knows them? What if we figure out who these people are before they're in such a situation that the response to their needs is so costly, is so complicated, becomes overwhelming to our systems? And what if we did it with private dollars? That was the way we started. So we raised a little bit of money, started a program in 2018 that we call we call our family resource centers, and so we have one in North Tulsa. I hope invite you to drive by. It's only about 5 or 6 minutes from here. Peoria and Apache is our North Tulsa Family Resource Center, and we have one in South Oklahoma City. If any of you are familiar with South Oklahoma City, we're at Penn and Exchange, just south of downtown there. And so our goal is to reduce the circumstances that lead children to encounter the child welfare system and increase protective factors among children. So we got a lot of research. I mean, I love the research. We know that there are certain things we can do that will essentially keep families from needing the child welfare system. And they're not very complicated things when we get there early enough. So our family resource centers are all around how do we increase these protective factors? How do we intervene with families really early on? How do we make this happen before we have these really costly, kind of detrimental situations? So I have a video for us.
My name is Shannon Guillory, and I work with the parenting program with Lilyfield called the Bright Futures Program. We support parents, provide them with resources, time to come into group and fellowship, as well as parent education on ways to just connect better with their children. When we have our groups on Wednesdays, we have a room for the kids to come in, watch a movie, color, do games, all of those things. But the parents get an hour to themselves, and so I think that takes a really big lift off of parents' shoulders to have that one day a week that they know when I go here, I'm going to have my needs met in some shape, form, or fashion. It's important, not just as a child, but as an adult, to be seen, heard, and valued, because those are the things that keep us going as individuals. And I think that's what a lot of parents are really tuning into, is understanding that when I understand what my child needs and my child understands what I need, that allows for us to work better together.
I've been coming to parent group. It'll be about a year now in August. My kids and I just really love it. Sometimes, with a single parent, I get overwhelmed and everything, but I've learned to really just step back, take that 10 seconds. It really kind of resonates with them more now, because I explain to them why they have to go to timeout, and then when they get out, I explain, this is what I expect. We bonded more, and they really like it. My son, he's autistic, so it's been really nice because he sees the kids that he's been knowing now for almost a year. They're really friendly with him, and he gets to have fun and interact with other kids. I didn't know I needed it until I started coming and realized how much I actually needed it.
I will say taking the courses at Lilyfield has affected my view to make you reflect on your parenting skills. One of the things that the Lilyfield staff kept going over with us was instead of being a very authoritative parent, it's okay to compromise with your kid. And I like that because I've tried it and I'm actually getting results. I do feel like taking the classes and actually using the curriculum in our relationship is making a difference in the way me and my daughter interact. I really appreciate that about Lilyfield.
When people get the resources that they need, they're able to find that hope that they've been looking for. Being able to give back to the community and let people know that there are people here that really want to help really makes a difference. At our building, we've had community events, kids club, we've done parenting groups there. We had a free book fair for the parents and the kids. They were able to come in and take pictures with the characters like the Minion, Black Panther. So we really just try our best to use our building to be a place for families and their children to be able to know that when you come to Lilyfield, you're going to be able to get some assistance, because that's the goal of Lilyfield, is to help families thrive.
gives you a little bit of an idea of our approach. Now, a couple of things I want to point out that I think are really important about the way we think about our work. First of all, this is a question everybody asks. Everything we do is voluntary. Nobody is told they have to come to see us. Nobody is court mandated to come and see us. We are for the community, of the community. So all of our parent staff, for instance, in North Tulsa, are from North Tulsa or have experience in that community. They're going to high school there or raising children there. They bring really relevant understanding of the challenges, the unique challenges that parents in that community may face, and that's the same with our other programs. The other piece that we do that's really unique is this 2-gen model. So many programs that intervene with families either work with the parents or work with the kids. We work with both. We think the family system is the key, and so intervening with the family system is really a key to the work that we do. And then the third thing I want you to remember about our work is we start from the belief that everybody has value, and all parents want the best for their children. Having done this work for 26 years and working in foster care for many years with some of the hardest, most heinous cases, I can say I have met very few parents, birth parents, that I would actually say don't want the best for their children. Parents, by and large, 99.9%, truly want the best for their children. They just don't always have the resources to provide it. And when we lack resources, we get desperate and really bad things happen. So I'm going to tell you a story about one family that I think really illustrates this. We had a situation, and this was during the pandemic, which of course a lot of people said, oh, the pandemic made things worse. I think it did, but I think in some ways it just brought to light things that a lot of us had already been saying were happening for struggling families. So we had a single dad that we were working with that had 4 kids, 12 to 4, and he worked construction. And so, when the weather was bad, he didn't work, he was home, but when the weather was good, he worked long hours, as we know. The mother was totally uninvolved, so it was just the dad trying to make it on his own, doing a really good job too, by the way, working really hard, making this thing work. His oldest daughter was 12, did a lot of babysitting, and I know people go, but when I was 12, we took care of each other too. So this was okay. They had some neighbors that kind of knew what was going on. We were there. They were with us 2 days a week. There was a good support system in place. So this was an okay solution. Maybe some of us would feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it worked. It worked just fine. Then the pandemic hit. And the dad said to one of our parent advocates, I don't know what to do, because if I go to work and leave my kids at home all day alone, I will risk losing them to foster care and I will be called negligent, which is true. If I quit my job, I will lose my house and become homeless and I will be called lazy. And I think that really illustrates the conundrum that many of our families face when what we lack are just like some basic resources like additional social supports, additional adults that are helping us raise children, those sorts of things. And so in that instance, the intervention wasn't foster care. This wasn't a bad parent. The intervention wasn't even parenting classes, right? The help he needed was a safe place for his kids to go so he could go to work. It was that simple. Many of the solutions that we need to think about are not complicated. They are at times hard to accomplish because providing, for instance, in that case, full-time childcare for kids is a little bit expensive, and there's a lot of red tape to work through it. But the reason I like that story is we can all relate to that at some level. If you've got kids, they have to be cared for. If you're a single parent, you have to work. What are you going to do if you don't have the right supports in place? Those are the kinds of situations that lead families into foster care many times. And that is something that I know surprises many of us, but often that's the type of family that we're looking at in foster care. We would call that neglect, and we could call that abandonment if they were left alone long enough. Okay, so we look at both of the members of the family. We want to intervene with both of them. Here's the evidence-based protective factors. Let's talk about these: hope, parental resilience, social connectedness. That's what I'm talking about how do we support children and families. Concrete supports in time of need, knowledge of parenting and child development, and the social and emotional competence of children. So we're talking about mental health and well-being capacities of our kids, which certainly that has suffered tremendously since COVID. So we work on these evidence-based protective factors, and we have a service continuum. So the service continuum just basically says, many of our old models said, I'm the expert, I know what you need. I like to say, the only thing I'm an expert on is knowing that all families have some need. I'm an expert at that. I know we all need something. I'm a parent, I need a lot of stuff. So our shared belief is not everyone needs the same thing at the same time. The needs of children and families change over time, and we can't understand the needs of families simply in terms of government systems. Government systems play a huge part in the success of children and families, and we all can understand that. The biggest indicator of a family's involvement in the child welfare system is not substance abuse, by the way, because substance use is much higher in families of high socioeconomic status than those of low socioeconomic status. It's not, employment status necessarily. It's not whether or not you're a single parent. It's actually poverty. It's actually how much money do you have? And so we have a system in our state, in our country, that we have to kind of wrestle with. If you live in certain zip codes, you are more likely to enter foster care than if you live in other zip codes. And I think that's really something we have to wrestle with. So our community centers are strategically placed, our family resource centers are strategically placed in zip codes where children have high rates of involvement with the child welfare system. So North Tulsa, those kids are more likely to enter foster care than kids who live in South Tulsa. In Oklahoma City, it's a flip-flop. Our kids that live in our South Oklahoma City neighborhoods are more likely to enter foster care than kids who live in the zip code where I was raised in North Oklahoma City and Edmond. This is a really important thing, I think, for us to wrestle with. So we have to kind of understand the problem, know the problem, to think about how do we resolve it. So we think about this in these really kind of broad terms, and then we intervene at this really basic level with children and families. What do you need? What do you think you need? How do we support you? How do we bring in resources for you? And how do we believe that you know what you need? The problem is you don't know how to get it. And that's really what we deal with a lot of families. You already know what you need. You don't know how to get it. When we started our work, we had some people, really well-meaning people at a meeting we were at, say, you know what? You're never going to get parents to participate in your programs. They're not court mandated. What's the incentive? And I am, as I mentioned, a social worker, and I love a really good challenge, and I love people. And I said, well, of course, I didn't say this out loud. In my mind, I said, well, of course they're not going to come to your program. They know you think that about them. I wouldn't come to your program either. You think I'm lazy, or, I don't care about my kids. I mean, that was kind of the idea. Like, you'd have to pay them to come, or they don't, they're not. We, in particular, in one of our programs in Oklahoma City, we average 50 to 60 parents a week coming to a program, right? Because they are hungry for connection. They are hungry to be seen, heard, and valued. They want to do better. You heard it in the voice of those moms. I want to be a good mom. I just don't have always the resources to know what to do. I did an assessment one time with a parent. I'm a parent, and I was doing an assessment one time with a parent. I was overcome by her story. She told the story of living in a situation of domestic violence and getting out of that situation and going on to get into it. She had a child with that man, going on to get out of that, get herself safe, her child safe, get remarried, and get much more stable. And she said she didn't understand, though, why she continued to have these problems with her oldest child that was exposed to that domestic violence in that home for many years. And so we were talking about, how did you know that exposure to early violence to children has a long-lasting impact? But we actually have things we can do to help them. I mean, that's what we do, right? That's the expertise. Like, we know how to help these kids. And I said to her in that moment, I said, you are such a good mom. I mean, getting out of that situation and getting yourself to safety, that you are such a good mom. And that took so much courage. And she looked at me and said, no one has ever told me I was a good mom before. I have never heard anybody say that. And so sometimes that's as simple as it is. She got her child into counseling. She herself came to parenting classes. Their relationship got better. Mom grew in her understanding. She didn't have to carry guilt for what had happened. She could feel proud of herself, but also understand that scenario her child had long-lasting impacts, and how could she help her. So the work is so fun. That's the kind of thing we get to do. I have another video that I really want you to see, so I'm going to try to find it here. Get through some of my slides. I think it's me. So thank you for asking that question. We are a faith-based organization. We were started in a closet of a church building, right? Like many organizations are. And so we are a faith-based organization. Our faith response comes from our own response. So not what we require other people to do, and not ever asking anybody to agree with that faith. We don't proselytize. We don't teach religious education. Simply from a board perspective, and certainly from a personal faith perspective, I mean, I believe my faith is best lived out when I love and serve other people. And to me, that's the call. That is how I view faith. My Christian faith is to love and serve my community. And so that's our faith response. So we are a government contractor. We're a federal government contractor. We're a state government contractor. We believe that we can live authentically and truly live our faith out, and still, like many of you do on a day-to-day basis, we can interact with all the systems in our world. And those two things don't have to be in competition with each other. We just have to be respectful. But yes, we are a faith-based organization, which I think has really helped us with our longevity, because we feel very committed to communities. We do not chase funding. So when we feel like we're in a community, embedded in a community, we're going to stay there. Our work has been successful. So I'll say this, and some of you that have been working in nonprofits will understand this. Our work has been successful, and so we often have people come to us and say, we want you to go after this funding to do this thing in this other place because you've been so good at it here. And we say, that's really not our mission. Our mission is to our communities that we're committed to. I would love to go over to that community and help find a provider embedded in that community, and I would share everything I have to help them be successful at doing what we've done here. But we don't have to be everything all over the place to every person. And so being deeply ingrained in our communities, we own our properties. That's also a piece that's a little bit unique. We own our property in North Tulsa. We own our property in South Oklahoma City, because when you're a member of a community, a property owner in a community, you have a really big investment in what happens there. And so we bought property in communities that a lot of people don't necessarily want to own property in, and we have improved those communities. And now we get to say to our neighbors, we're your neighbor, because we care significantly, not just because we believe we should care, but because now we have a financial investment. So, yeah, I think a lot of pieces of what we've done and a lot of our kind of deep level commitment come from that kind of faith response that our board has called us to. So let me, I feel like, no, here we go. Okay.
I'm Diane Smith, and I'm the Regional Director of Development for Lilyfield. Lilyfield is a nonprofit providing healthy families for at-risk children and youth, especially in North Tulsa and all over the state. Our services focus on foster care, counseling, and foster care prevention. We operate as a multi-generational family resource center, serving the whole family at once.
I am Donna Walker. I work at Lilyfield Tulsa office as the Parenting Program Manager. Almost 5 years ago, Lilyfield started a prevention program here in Tulsa, offering an after-school program, social and emotional learning to the children. Then we brought in the Bright Futures program, which is the parenting part. We are working with families because that is our goal, to make families, give them the tools to have safe and stable environments.
My name is Mia Gates. I'm a youth advocate. I facilitate different curriculums with the youth that we serve, and we just talk about a variety of things. Healthy life skills, healthy relationships, communication. Some of the unique approaches that we take with the youth that we serve, I think just meeting them where they are and breaking it down as much as possible to make sure that they're taking home with them what we're teaching them. And so at the end of every class, we give them a paper to take home to discuss with their parent or their guardian, just to continue to instill that parent-child connection. And I think that the youth are learning so much from it, and they're just super excited to come back every single day to learn more about healthy relationships. The relationship building is so impactful on them and so impactful on us.
I am Nolan, and my role at Lilyfield is youth advocate. So I get to hang out with students, teaching them about valuable lessons for life. We do small groups a lot and get them to kind of discuss together and then allow them to share what they want to share. And I feel like they open up more so that way, just because they have found that what they're sharing is relatable with other students in the class. Getting them all together and having them all discuss the same topic allows them to feel like they're a part of something else. So it's always been a passion of mine to reach out to students that may not have direction in life. Life isn't just about me, but it's about those that I impact. And I think that's why I really love the next generation. Those are the people that are going to be our leaders in life. And we need to love them well and pour into them well so that they can be successful and lead us well.
We want to see families and parents strengthened and equipped to take care of their own children. Working together, we can help overcome a lot of the adversity that they're facing. And as we are partnering with other agencies as well, collaborations are just taking our city even farther as we work together to serve all these families.
There is a need for our program in this community to continue to work with parents and to work with students, to work with families. We are here to serve the community, and that's what Lilyfield is all about.
Okay, so as I end, I'm going to say one final story, and then I think maybe, I don't know if there's any Q&A, or I'm not really sure what's happening, but I think I have 1 minute. Miss Donna, who you saw on the end of that video, she grew up just 3 or 4 houses down from the building that we own in Tulsa now. That building was a number of different things built probably in the late 40s. It had been empty and dilapidated and left to just kind of crumble. It was a picture of what happens in the communities that we serve often. There is a lack of investment in infrastructure. When we started looking at buying the building, which of course needed a total and complete rehab, she said, that's my house I grew up in, three or 4 houses down. I would love to see this become a beacon of hope in North Tulsa. And so it took a lot of work and a lot of effort and getting all the right pieces to come together, but that's what we've been able to do. And that's a picture of what we believe about communities and families. We can come together, we can join hands together, and we can help communities, families and communities rise up, be more successful, and have a more hopeful future. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly, and thank you for the hard work that you and your team do making our community and our children and our families, making a better world. So thank you. A book recognizing today's program will be donated to our partner in education school, Celia Clinton Elementary. This week's book is Trick or Treat on Scary Street. Upcoming programs, as Ben said, we will not meet here next Wednesday. It will be a Service Above Self Day at Catholic Charities. Please sign up. November 6th will be Carlisle and Charlotte Gargis with the Salvation Army. November 13th will be Scott Neild, President and CEO of Montereau Retirement Community. Special thanks to our gold sponsors, We Be Trees, Tim Knoll, Max Electric Supply, Jack McGlumphy, Coldwell Banker Select, Sheree Gardner, OK Ethics, Mary Lytle, silver sponsors, J.D. Young, Doug Stewart, Trust Company of Oklahoma, Michael Hairston, Allen Edwards Incorporated, Chip Edwards, and bronze sponsors, Gable Gottwalls, Jeff Hassel, Paul Rossler, and Adam Doverspike, Hall Estel, Tom Klenda, and Daniel Ketchum, Hanson and Holmes, Richard Holmes, and Hearts for Hearing, Kaylee Clark. 2 committee meetings will follow today's meeting. The trustees will meet in room 231, and the programs committee will meet in Parker Hall. So many people know that the World Series starts this week. I was going to have an inspirational quote about that, but I learned this morning that one of my all-time favorite players, Fernando Valenzuela, passed away very recently. I was very young in the 1980s, but I remember Fernando Mania very well because he was my father's, by far, his favorite player. There's a 30 for 30 about Fernando Valenzuela, and it makes the point about the cultural impact that Fernando had on the Hispanic and the Mexican community in particular in the United States, and that a whole wave of new baseball fans are credited to him. That's obviously very personal to me. To this day, my father's favorite players are those from Hispanic backgrounds. But Fernando himself was special. He threw a nasty screwball, which is a lost art in today's game. Celebrity deaths hit people different. This one hits me because it is personal to me, because I was very young at the time, and it gave me a lot of pride in my cultural background, and I know it made a difference for a lot of people, not only the Mexican people, but Mexican Americans in particular. I wear number 34 in Sandlot baseball for Nolan Ryan and for Fernando Valenzuela. Thank you for letting me share that. And I hope that everybody will watch the 30 for 30 because Fernando's impact really was special. Thank you for joining our meeting today. Be sure to meet our new member, Ben Jones, on the way out. We're adjourned.